Verge at Thursday, January 9th, 2025. What do you do when you want to rail fan, but you don't want to be out in the elements, the wind and the cold, especially the wind? You rail fan the subway. So we're at Sutphin Boulevard and Archer Avenue in Jamaica. We're going to rail fan the E Train and follow it into Manhattan today. They largely run a fleet of Alstom R160As and Kawasaki R160Bs. Here comes a Manhattan-bound E Train.
Next stop is Jamaica-Van Wyck.
Here's a Manhattan-bound train of 160s. Comes a Manhattan-bound E Train into Sutphin. Connect here for the Long Island Railroad.
Jamaica-Van Wyck.
These cars have a musical traction motor sound like Long Island Railroad and Metro North M7s. Here we have a Jamaica Center-bound train.
Is a Jamaica.
Oh, this is heading to Jamaica Center, the next and last stop.
This is a
Those are Siemens traction motors you're listening to. R160Bs built by Kawasaki. Here's a Manhattan-bound train of R160s. Rather narrow platform here at Sutphin Boulevard. Well, here comes another inbound Jamaica Center train.
This is a Jamaica Center-bound E Express train. The next and last stop is Jamaica Center.
Once again, being held there at the station momentarily. Yeah, trains ahead of us at the last stop, Jamaica Center. As soon as a train departs the terminal, we can proceed. Thank you for your patience.
Jamaica Center-bound train is being held up. A little while ago, the garbage train went through here. No, not Silverliner 4s, R42 cars. Well, those set of R160s had Alstom propulsion on them. Well, this Manhattan-bound set of R160s has the Seaman propulsion. It's confusing between the different types of propulsion and the series of car numbers between the A's and the B's. But listen to what these Siemens sound like. Siemens traction motors sort of slide up, whereas the Alstom ones take steps. They go like doo-doo-doo, whereas these Siemens ones just sort of go doo. That's the difference. So here we have a Bluebird set heading for Jamaica Center. Has the Alstom propulsion. This is Jamaica-Van Wyck. Quite an airy station here. Cavernous. Never gotten off at this station. This is one of the newer stations that was built as part of the Archer Avenue Subway project that was opened decades ago. Kind of reminds me a little bit with the airiness and spaciousness of a Washington Metro station. Here comes a Jamaica-bound train. Incidentally, the Sutphin Boulevard station also connects to the J and Z subways.
This is a Jamaica Center-bound E Express train. The next stop is Sutphin Boulevard, Archer Avenue, JFK.
Manhattan-bound. This is adorned with the blue stripe for the New York State colors representation.
This is a Manhattan-bound E Express train. The next stop is Kew Garden.
Not a service train. These R160s run in 4-car sets and 5-car sets. We're at Kew Gardens Union Turnpike now. Here's a set of New York State painted R160Bs. Turnpike, we share with the F, which comes from 179th Street and Hillside Avenue. I'm told they're starting to run R179s built by Bombardier. The traction motors on the R160s are very musical, whereas the traction motors on the R179 sound like a woman screaming on an Arch Oboler radio horror show. We got Manhattan-bound E and F trains here. E on the left, F on the right. The F heads for Coney Island. Under Queens Boulevard here, and the F is a local on Queens Boulevard up to 71st Continental Avenue, where the E is an express, and it's an express beyond that to Queens Plaza. Jamaica-bound E train there. You can hear the F train pulling out with his Siemens propulsion, or his Alstom propulsion. Alstom is sort of a step phase propulsion, whereas the Siemens is a sliding sounding propulsion. Here's an F train of R160s, the New York State colors. We've moved to a very busy station under Queens Boulevard. In addition to the E and F, you also have the starting points for the M and R trains. Well, here comes an R train bound for 95th Street in Brooklyn near the Verrazano Bridge. R160 types here, but I'm told that R179s occasionally run on this. Well, here's a Coney Island bound F train of R160s. sound on the traction motors on those? That's the Siemens traction. It just slides up in sound rather than taking steps. Well, here comes an M train about to start his run, which is terminal is only a short distance from here on Metropolitan Avenue, off the Myrtle Avenue line. The M is an interesting line to ride on. It starts here, goes through the subway, goes through Manhattan, then it crosses the Williamsburg Bridge into Brooklyn, and then it goes on to the old Myrtle Avenue line and heads up into Queens and terminates at Metropolitan Avenue. This train reminds me of those SEPTA trains that go from Chestnut Hill East to Chestnut Hill West. They end a short distance from where they start. Here comes a Manhattan-bound E Train.
This is a Manhattan-bound E Express train. The next stop is Jackson Heights.
R179s look very similar to these R160s, but they sure don't sound the same. Now on this 179th Street bound F train that's stopping here, these have the R179s. Listen to the sound of these when they start up. Scraping, irritating, screaming sounds. Sounds nothing like an R160. An F train just arrived and people will be running to catch the M local. We're not too far from the Long Island Railroad Forest Hill Station. Just a few blocks, short walk. Our train is about to begin his long journey to 95th Street. Here's an M train about to shove off on its long but yet very short journey as the crow flies. east end of the platform on the express track is looks like an E train is about to come in. Got a Jamaica Center bound E train stop to my right. Train bound for 179th and Hillside. F train, Coney Island bound, coming into 71st Avenue, Continental Avenue. Okay, from here to the next stop at Roosevelt Avenue, the train runs.
F express train. The next stop is Jackson Heights, Roosevelt Avenue.
From here to the next stop at Roosevelt, the trains run under Queens Boulevard and around Grand Avenue, Newtown. They shift to go under Broadway. Trained at Roosevelt Avenue. Roosevelt Avenue is a busy stop, served by the E, F expresses and the M and R locals. You also have the number 7 train upstairs in the cold. I'll stay downstairs, thank you. And we have an M train loading. Serves Queens, Manhattan, Brooklyn, and Queens. 4 boroughs, and most unusual service. Used to be much more truncated, ran from Metropolitan Avenue just into Manhattan. A Manhattan-bound E train with the Siemens propulsion. They definitely sound different coming into a station too. We're on the eastbound platform now as it's a little less crowded. here's an R local bound for 71st Continental. So we got an F train pulling in to connect. The majority of the R160s have the Alstom propulsion. Listen to the difference on this with the Siemens. To the next stop on the E is Queens Plaza. Very interesting happenings occur between here and there. The E, for the most part, travels under Northern Boulevard along with the F. The local trains travel up Broadway and then make a left turn and go under Steinway Street and rejoin at Queens Boulevard before Queens Plaza. The F train, on the other hand, diverges before Queens Plaza and heads off to Queensbridge and across the river on the 63rd Street Tunnel, where it serves Roosevelt Island. There's a 179th Street F-bound train, and you'll get to hear the Siemens propulsion on these. There's another set of propulsion by Siemens on these cars. There's another train with Siemens propulsion over there going towards Manhattan. Trains are having some problems, as well as other 6th Avenue trains. What's going on over there? Well, here's a garbage train on the inbound local track. St. Louis Car Company built R42s. What a catch this is. These were in revenue service up until 2020. Most unique catch of the day. fortuitous mistake at Roosevelt Avenue. I got on an F train, and the next stop for that is Queensbridge, 21st Street, not Queens Plaza. But it gives me a chance to check out a couple of stations that are associated with the 63rd Street Tunnel. Notice the wide open station area here. It's a train that just emerged from the 63rd Street Tunnel. R179's on the opposite track. R160's here.
Next express train. The next stop is Roosevelt Island.
And clear over the closing doors, please.
That R179 scream reminiscent of some Boris Karloff horror movie. Jamaica-Van F train. Exploring these stations, the drawback is I have to go all the way back to Roosevelt Avenue to go to Queens Plaza. Oh well. Live and learn. Train at Roosevelt Island. This is 100 feet below the ground here, right under the East River. Look at this station. This is awesome. Reminds me of some Montreal metro stations, but this is a little more exotic. Here you have to go up a long elevator, escalator to get to the service, and you have the luxury of taking the Roosevelt Island aerial tram to Manhattan from here. Approaching is a Coney Island bound F train, deep under the ground.
This is a Brooklyn-bound F local train. The next stop is Lexington Avenue, 63rd Street.
Stand clear of the closing doors, please.
Comes a Queens-bound F train. This train is packed. With the Alstom propulsion, you can hear that high-pitched trill of the train coming into the station. The Siemens cars, they don't have that sound. Queens-bound side of the platform on the west end, and Roosevelt Island is in Manhattan, so I'm not in Queens right now when I say Queens-bound. Well, here comes a Coney Island-bound F train. As you have pretty much seen thus far, the E, F, M, and R are pretty much the domain of the R160 types. But I did see one R179 set running on the F. And we detrained off the correct train from Roosevelt here at Queens Plaza, as this train is heading into Manhattan. Next stop, 21st Street, Eli Avenue, Long Island City. Queens Plaza is not too far from Queensboro Plaza Station, but there's no free transfer between the two. Happily, it has a much wider platform than Roosevelt Avenue. Here at Queens Plaza, the F is gone. That strikes off to the north into Manhattan. And here the R train splits off from the M and E to head into Manhattan on their own line. There's a switch just beyond the platform here. Here comes the R for 95th Street, Bay Ridge.
This is a Manhattan-bound R local train. The next stop is
Jamaica-Van.
He's going to go straight ahead. Right now he's accessing a connecting track which will take him up to the N and W line that goes under the East River by the Queensboro Bridge. On the outbound side of the Queens Plaza platform, you can see the R trains using the connecting track to get onto this line here. You just came off the tracks that the N and W trains use. We're going through the switch. The old E train used to take this route from Whitehall Street. A little more. There you go. Riding the R train out of Manhattan, when you go under the East River, if you look out the front, it looks like you're going to emerge into daylight and head for Queensboro Plaza, but at the last minute, you go through the switch onto this connector track that takes you downstairs to Queens Plaza here. As I said, the old E train used to run between 71st Continental Avenue and Whitehall Street in Manhattan via that connector. That E train is long gone. There's been a lot of rationalization of the route since then, and shrinking of the letters from double letters to single. Towards 71st Continental is an M train. He shares the line with the E up to this point. Then he'll run local from here to 71st Continental Avenue, and the E will run express. You heard it in full. There was a problem with the brakes on one of the trains. Here's a Manhattan-Van E train. This E train is getting screwed. He's going to be making local stops after here because of that stalled train on the express track. There's a big complex of switches east of here where the F train comes in. Seeing these letters gives a hint of a Montreal transit system. The REM. Here comes another R train off the connector.
21st Avenue bound R train. The next stop is 36th Street.
And when you take an E train out of here, heading east to Roosevelt, you pass by the 36th Street station, and then you don't see anything until the 65th Street station. Years ago, I used to wonder why there was such a great distance between those stations, and nothing in between, but there actually are 3 other stations. What I didn't know is that the E train runs under Northern Boulevard on a separate right-of-way from the local trains, which use Steinway Street and Broadway to get to Roosevelt. They do sort of a 90-degree right turn off of Steinway to Broadway. Live and learn. So when you're on the E train, you pass 36th Street, and then the local lines separate, and you go down the Northern Boulevard tunnel, and then just before 65th Street, the local tracks join up again, heading into Roosevelt. All right, off at 23rd Street, Eli Avenue, Long Island City. Last stop in Queens. Next stop is Manhattan, Lexington Avenue for this. Stop for E and M trains only. No, folks, this is not where they have the G7 summit. Oh, here at 23rd Street, Eli Avenue, years ago, a transfer did not exist here to any other subway lines. But since my years ago 20-cent subway marathons, a connection was built at this station to connect with the G train and the 7. The G is a most unusual train. It is the only subway line that's not a shuttle that doesn't operate into Manhattan. Yeah, it's nice to have this connection to the G and the 7 here, but you have to walk quite a distance to get to them. Oh, here we are at the Court Square G train terminal. This is where they terminate now, and they go down to Smith 9th Street in Brooklyn. Years ago, it used to be the double G train, and it used to go all the way to 71st Continental Avenue. This G train is being operated with a pair of Kawasaki built R68As, built in the late 1980s. Makes the crosstown run down into Brooklyn. Train packed to the gills. Here we have a G train arriving Court Square. We're making a quick turnaround. I'll tour this line in detail at a later date. where we are now, folks. Welcome back to Manhattan. We can connect to the number 6 train via another rather long walk. But here, the station here is served by the E&M. Well, this station is fairly deep under the ground, and as a result, it's not terribly cold down here. Things have changed since my subway marathons in my teens when I was paying 20 cents for a token. This station used to be served by E and F trains. Now it's E&M trains. Queens Plaza, for example, was served by E, F, and double E and double G trains. Now only the E remains, replaced by the M and the R. Well, here's another M train heading from Metropolitan Avenue in Queens. Next stop will be 5th Avenue, and then he'll make a left turn and go down under 6th Avenue, Avenue of the Americas. Well, here comes another E train. I'll hop on this and go to the next stop on 5th Avenue. And we detrained at where it's at in Manhattan, 5th Avenue. This station is on 2 levels. The upper level serves the downtown E and M trains, and the lower level serves the Queens-bound E and M trains.
This is a World Trade Center bound E train. The next stop is 7th Avenue, 53rd Street.
Trains go straight ahead to 7th Avenue, the next stop from here. The M trains hang a left. Approaching 5th Avenue is an M train. We'll watch him hang a left after he leaves here so he can head down 6th Avenue. Train will turn left and head down 8th Avenue shortly. B and D trains, which proceed down under Avenue of the Americas after here.
Attention passengers, we are being held in the station momentarily. We do have a train in the station directly ahead of us. We should be moving shortly. We apologize for the inconvenience.
Touring this E Train along with others, you've got to see how dominant the R160 car fleet is on the system. Other lines, they're dominated by other cars. Yeah, you can tell when a downtown D train is coming. It starts to get like a wind tunnel. This is some kind of R68. There are R68s and R68As. Comes down from 205th Street in the Bronx, goes all the way to Coney Island. The avenue I'm taking you to, 42nd Street. Just about to finish my tour of the E Train from Jamaica to Manhattan. This is a good spot right here. You can see lots of different types of trains here. You have the A, C, and the E. Downtown A Train with the R160s. They're not long for this world. The A Train is now the domain primarily of the R211As and R179s also. So you get to see a wide variety of equipment here. Updated door chime. Connect to a lot of lines here. They're located in Times Square, but you have to take one hell of a long walk to get to those trains. Downtown E Train. And here's a downtown A Train of R211As. Here comes a downtown C train, which heads to Euclid Avenue.
If you see something suspicious in the station or on the train, tell the police officer or MTA employee. Time 6:45.
R211As are on the C and the A pretty much. Sound from what you've been hearing most of the day. Kawasaki R211A cars. It's got a long trip ahead of him. I bet you it's cold out there on that boardwalk. Another downtown bound C train, R211s, and an A train. Take your pick of R211A trains. Railfanning the E train seemed like a good idea because it's underground. I mean, it eliminated the wind for the most part, but it's cold. I'm going to call it a day here shortly as I get off at the next stop in Penn Station. I'm cold and I'm hungry, but gratified that I was able to spend considerable time on the E train today, showing you the R160 fleet. Here comes one now. I think I'll get on it. All right, we'll say goodbye to the C train at 34th Street, Penn Station. We went from Jamaica to Penn Station the hard way. What's normally a 20-minute ride on the Long Island Railroad took me roughly 6 hours. Hey, who's in a hurry? Listen to these sweet R160 traction motors once more. This will have the Alstom traction motors.